Welcome back to the Pulse, Detroit's only nightly political talk show, and this subject affects all of us. The federal government shutdown continuing as a deal still hasn't been reached with lawmakers. Here in Michigan, our state budget was signed this week. Joining us now to talk about diplomacy, is it dead? Troy Mayor Ethan Baker, he's a Republican. We mentioned on this show that we have, Dr. Wendell Anthony, 101. We have this Republican, 101, but he is a nonpartisan mayor. So in the role of mayor of Troy, you're nonpartisan, and you work very well with both Democrats and Republicans. But in this case, we kind of want to glean a little bit of your Republican perspective when we see what happened here. Speaker Matt Hall, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, I've spoken with both of them in the last 3 days, 4 days. They're thrilled that they can kind of boast that they worked well together. Yeah. Is it because of the contrast that we're seeing in D.C. that they're able to kind of brag about this and feel a little more proud about it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's definitely it makes it really easy to work together when things are so crazy in D.C., and I think that's part of it. So even if you're just a little less crazy, it feels like you're doing something really great and civil. But I will say this: I think Governor Whitmer and Speaker Hall, and they really did work together on this. They gave themselves that extra week to make sure things got done with a deal, and they managed to make it work. Legislators were up all night. I was in contact with my state representatives and state senators here in Troy, and they were working through the night trying to make sure everything was well taken care of. And in the end, they came together with a bipartisan deal that I read Governor Whitmer's press release. It's got Speaker Hall quotes. It's got, Republicans, Democrats. They seem to be on the same page and singing from the same hymn book, and that's refreshing as a Michigander.
It really is. Now, you worked for President Reagan after he left his presidency for a number of years, got to know President Reagan and Nancy Reagan really well. One thing I really respect out of President Reagan, one of many things, is he didn't see eye to eye with Speaker Tip O'Neill at the time. In fact, they were diametrically opposed politically. But they worked together. And then you have like Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich. They did not get along when it came to policy. But yet, he was in the middle of this trial, the impeachment trial, and Newt Gingrich shows up at the White House and says, "Merry Christmas, Mr. President. I'm sorry that we have to do this impeachment thing." He said, "Let's not talk about that." And they carry on. Are those days gone?
Well, I hope not, because if they are, people like me are in trouble, and we got to get a new line of work. But the reality is, I don't think they are. I think they're definitely different. Things evolve. We look at things differently now, very much in this country, because of technology. I think we're inundated with flashy, headlines coming across our phones all the time. People are really focused on the sound bites, and it's doing a lot of damage to us. We've talked about this before, but I think at the core of it, we're all still human beings that care about one another, and we want to have good relationships with people. And there are leaders throughout this entire country that do value those relationships and will still work at it. But there are things that have to change a little bit. I mean, I did work for President and Mrs. Reagan, and I learned a lot about the president's time in office and studied a lot all the people he worked with. And the issue that I always found most fascinating is President Reagan was the biggest celebrity at the time to get elected president, being a former actor, and that was kind of what he was known as. But now our politicians, it seems like they're playing more to be the celebrity and less someone who's going to get things done, whether it's in Washington or even Lansing. And that's the problem. We got to focus less on making these American idols, essentially, and making them more the people that we've elected to do the good work that we need to keep our government running.
And the political theater that you see even in the hallways of the Capitol, they had yesterday 2 politicians who I won't even name, but they're good people trying to work hard on this bill, one Republican, one Democrat. And there's a crush of cameras in the middle of a hallway, and they're screaming at each other, waving the bill in each other's face. Who benefits from that?
Well, nobody does, and well, maybe some fundraisers do. Those certainly people, the media. I hate to bash on you, but media gets clicks for that kind of thing. But I think that the really interesting thing for that is we the people are the problem in that respect, because we're loving it. We're lapping it up. We're looking for more of it. We're sharing it with our friends. We're so stuck in our bubbles, and our feeds are full of things that either that we completely agree with and we're all for on the same team, or we're diametrically opposed to. So there's no opportunity to see both sides of an issue anymore, or see both sides or two sides of a person.
And
about people.
As you talk about blame that the media shoulders, the blame, as you say, also is shouldered by people who are engaging in social media algorithms that feed more negativity. If you start looking up puppies, you'll get more puppy videos. If you're looking up how much you hate one politician, you're going to get more of that. So the responsibility is on all of us to say, wait a minute here, what's true and what's not? Do you think people have a healthy diet of real information, or is it, in your mind, what you see, mostly social media?
No, I don't think people have that healthy relationship or that healthy diet. It's a problem, and people are seeing so much fake news, and I don't mean from media like it gets used. I mean fake news in their social media feeds. And some people even recognize that it's fake, but the problem is it still went through their mind when they're scrolling through. And so a couple weeks later, later, they may not remember that they knew that that was fake, but they're going to remember a headline that gives them misinformation. It's an issue, and we have to do something about it. I'm all for the First Amendment and free speech, and that's what this country is all about. But we have to find a way to make sure our population is properly educated and really understand the issues that are facing us, and stop idolizing our politicians and giving them reason to be even crazier and even louder.
And deifying them to the point where they can do no wrong. I often find it very fascinating when someone posted something about Hakeem Jeffries and everyone, how dare you talk about him? Someone posted about President Trump yesterday as well, and someone said, how dare you talk about him? These are not demigods. These are not kings and queens. Last question. There's a piece of legislation that it was shot down again. Republicans said, hey, if we can't come to an agreement right now, let's do a standalone piece of this that says let's pay for our troops, pay for our TSA agents, pay for our border agents. Democrats voted that down. At some point here, this game of political football is hurting American people on the other side of that camera.
It's already hurting the American people, right? And we just don't feel the effects of it yet. I mean, maybe somebody flying is starting to feel that.
Or those workers.
Or the workers who aren't going to get paid on the 15th, when it's the first check they're missing. There's going to be a breaking point. I'm hoping we're getting closer to it. Obviously, listen, the principles on each side of the argument, I get where everybody's coming from, but they're elected to do a job, and that is to provide a budget and to make sure the government is run effectively and efficiently, and they're failing in that right now. And the blame can be on both sides. As much as that's going to hurt some people to hear, it is a both sides issue, because at some point, you've got to do what's right for the American people. You've got to do what's right as a government leader. Stop being an advocate and start being more of someone who governs. It's really tough.
The both-sidedness blame game is I get that people don't like it, but in this case, you have Democrats and Republicans who are being pretty stubborn and petulant at that at best. All right. You know what? We appreciate you coming on the show today. Mayor Ethan Baker with Troy. Good to see you. Thank you so much for your time. That is the Pulse for tonight. Thanks for joining us. I'm Roop Raj. As always, it was good to be with you.